Hey guys, it's Rachel at From Moments to Milestones, and I'm here today to put together our newest class kit. We've started a new series called our Techniques class kit, and in this class, this is the kit. You're gonna get stuff to make 2 cards, and you're also gonna get this Simon Hurley stamping foam. So this is what mine looks like. Obviously it's been rubbed on a little bit. And then you're gonna get some you'll get 2, let's open our kit and then you can say, but with what playing you get to do with your foam, you'll end up being able to make 2 cards. So your kit will have 2 card bases, a sheet like this with pre-stamped and colored images and some sentiments, and then you'll have 4 A2 white panels, and that's what we're going to play with. And you have this black cardstock. We used it in this card here. So that's your kit. So really all we're going to need right now are those 4 card panels. So I'm going to put the rest away for now. So let's see where to start. I'm going to show you some samples of things I've made. So with this stamping foam, if you're not familiar with it, you heat it up with a heat tool, and then you can use it to press in to something and you'll get that impression on the stamp foam, and then you can in turn use this as a stamp itself. So in my examples I have used, this is a piece of burlap. This is just a Hugs die. I've doubled it up so it's got some thickness to it. We're going to use this Stampendous, I don't remember what this is called, but we're going to use a large rubber stamp. We're going to try out a hot foil plate. This is a large embossing folder, so we're going to give that a try. I've got a couple dies here we can give a go. This is the Simon Hurley stencil, so stencils, and then this is a Pink Fresh cover plate die. So this is just kind of scratching the surface on things you can use, but it's definitely a good variety of things you'll have in your stash. So some of these examples will have used just the circle, and some of them will have used the larger portion, the outside. So on this one, you can see that I use the cover plate on that. Let's see. Maybe I should have sorted these samples out a little bit better. So here is an example of using this portion with that same cover plate. I kept on this one, I used my scoreboard and I kept the pieces together just to see what it would do. You get that little white outline. So that's an example. These 2 we're using, I will say, let me say this, in all my examples and in our actual class today, we use the Simon Hurley Create ink pads. These, how many? 5 colors? Yeah. So we use Triple Berry, Overzealous, Clear Skies, Shooting Star, and Prom Queen. So most of my samples use that, with the exception of this. It doesn't mean you only can use his inks on this stamping foam. So I did try this as just regular distress ink, and this is with a lot of water, and this is with no water. So you can see the water definitely darkens it up. And this is, I believe, a Tim Holtz, the linen 3D embossing folder. Let's see, what else do I got? So this piece here, and also what we used on this card example, is the stencil. So you can see that there. Kind of looks like bubble wrap. Let's see, so next we'll just kind of go here. I have this die, so let's find my examples with that. So there's one. So I impressed this butterfly die, and then I use daubers like this, little fingertip dauber, and I just kind of swirled the ink around, sprayed it with water, and that might be one of my favorite impressions that I got. All right, so this is a Hero Arts hot foil plate. So, you know, this might be something you're doing or something you're not. But if you have some of these work well for this. So this is the impression I got, just rubbing the ink onto the surface. I just used the circle on that one. So this one I used the dauber again and just circles, and this one I can't remember if I used a dauber or just the ink pad directly to the foam. But those are the two examples of that. And then I also used it just as a stamp, where I didn't use any water here. I just put the ink on, turned it over and stamped it, changed colors and repeated. So you can kind of see, you definitely get, when you use the water, you get a different look. All right, this is the embossing folder. Okay, and love that image. So just using the green ink. And then this is the large rubber stamp. So I just picked a portion that I liked. I wanted to get that butterfly, and I used, oh shoot, I don't have them with me, those little, I'll have to grab those because I'm going to need them to show you how to use them. But I used the little detail blending, they're a little wooden stick, and I colored each image and then got it wet and stamped it. And then finally, we're going to use this. This is just using the Hugs die. So I layered up a couple pieces of white die cuts, and that's just using the Hugs. This is using the burlap. I love that. Maybe one of my other favorites. So much detail in that. And then for this one, I tried something different. I put down the burlap. I laid the Hugs on top. And that's the image I got there. And then finally, you can use all sides of your foam. So that means these long sides, the short sides here. So I use the short side right here onto a wood embossing folder. And that's the impression I got. I don't think I used any water here. I think that may have just been ink and straight to paper. Just playing around. So I'm going to play around a little bit and show you how to use this. So we'll get started. All right, so we are going to get started. So what you're going to need is inks of your choice. Like I said, they don't have to be the Simon Hurley Create ink pads, but you're going to need some dye-based inks, and your 4 panels, and then a variety of things you would like to try out from your stash. You could use a pair of jeans if you wanted. You could use a piece of wood. There, you know. So if you don't have lots of supplies, that's okay. We're just gonna play. But I'm sure if you're like most, you have plenty of supplies to choose from. I suggest a large acrylic block to put your stamping foam on. It definitely makes it easier to give good solid pressure, but this is not necessary. If you don't have one that fits, it's really okay. And with that, I'm going to use some blue painter's tape to stick mine on there. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And you can see that my stamping foam has the last thing I impressed into it. And so this can stay until I don't want it to be there anymore. And you just heat it and it takes it off. So there's no harm in leaving that in there. If you find a texture you really like and you want to hold on to, well, then you can just leave it in there. So we'll start with this round one. So I'm just gonna make little tape loops. Put my foam on there. And then you're also gonna need a heat tool of some kind. So I'm just gonna take one of these, and I think I'm gonna start with let me see. Yes, I'm gonna start with this floral background stamp from Stampendous. So I'm going to lay that down in front of me and kind of eyeball where I want that butterfly. So I know that when I flip it over and stamp on it, I'm going to want to go about right there. So I'm going to have that ready to go. Have my paper ready. And so what I'm going to do first is heat it up. So you'll see 10 to 15 seconds is recommended. Even heat, and what you'll see is as I'm heating it, you can see that pattern disappear. And so that's how you get rid of it, and so you can use it over and over and over. And then I'm going to continue to heat just a little bit, and then I'm just going to turn around and put it right onto my stamp. Alright, I think that's good. And I'm going to flip it over and press it. Give it a good solid. I'm going to kind of rock back and forth, actually in a circular motion, so that I get all the edges. And what you end up with is this image into that foam, and now we can use this as a stamp. So what we're going to do with this one, I am just going to use one color and put it down. So I'm going to use the Clear Skies, and I am just going to swirl the ink on. All right, happy with that. And then the other thing I forgot to mention would be a nice mister of some kind, okay? And so what we're gonna do is give this, we're gonna mist it. You don't have to mist it, but I think you get more intense results when you do that. So I'm just gonna take it off screen, give it a mist, okay? So you just want it to glisten a little bit, you don't want it soaked. And then I'm going to stamp it down. Beautiful results. So I did have a kind of a glob of water right there, and you can see, but that doesn't bother me. I like the distressed look that it gives. So, so that is one example. And then to clean, it's real easy. You're just going to spray it down with water, take a rag and wipe it off. Now I could continue to use this over and over, or I'm going to move on. So I'm going to heat mine and make that disappear, and then we'll come back and do it again. I did want to say that if you are using an ink that doesn't really come off all the way, or it stains your foam a little bit, that's okay. As long as you get it off. If it stains, it's not gonna hurt the foam or hurt your next impression, so don't worry about that. Okay, so I removed the floral impression from my foam, and now I'm going to use this Simon Hurley stencil. So if you're someone who has lots of stencils, you've got endless possibilities here. And what's nice is you kind of get the reverse of what the stencil is meant to do. So you get more use out of your supplies. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to leave this down, ready to go, heat it up, and press it in. Only this time, I'm going to use this. So put that down. All right, so same thing. You're going to heat it up, nice even heat, 10 to 15 seconds. Flip it over and press. That looks great. Got a good impression there. And so the thing is, as you're learning to use this, maybe you didn't give nice even pressure everywhere. Maybe you didn't heat it up well enough all the way around, and you might have spots that aren't pressed in real well. Like even right here, you can see this is not as pronounced as some of this, but that's okay. You kind of get a distressed look, and that's okay. But if you are going for perfection, you could always reheat it make it disappear, and try again. So what we're going to do is get another card panel, and this time I'm going to go all the way around. And so I think I'm going to do pink with the polka dots. I'm just going to rub the ink on. And I'm going to kind of go really rub around the edges so I get a nice defined look. Same thing in the circle. So depending on how you put the ink on, you could blend colors on. You might get a different result. All right, so that is the prom queen. And so it is kind of hard. I'm going to lay mine this way so that I can line it up like so. So I'm going to give it a mist. Okay. We're going to flip it over and stamp it. Love that. So there's that. And so you can kind of see how I didn't get it perfectly centered on there. So really what you could do is just trim down your card panel. So I could just trim that down a little bit and we'll be good to go. So I'm going to clean it off and heat it up to get rid of that impression. All right, for our next impression, I'm going to use this hot foil plate. And I'm going to stick with this, it'll just fit, and this may be one I'll need to trim down. You can see it's a little bit smaller, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and heat this up and get the impression in there. All right, so I've got a nice impression, and I'm going to stamp this one down. And let's see, let's try, do I want to do green? Let's do green. I might do green and yellow together, so let's do that. I'll show you that. So we're going to take the yellow pad, and we're going to go all over the pattern. Okay. And then I'm going to take the yellow, or the green, and I'm just going to kind of come on the edges. Kind of blend them together. All right, get my paper ready here, and I'm going to mist it. And I'm going to flip it over and stamp it. And give it a good press. Kind of rocking it back and forth. Make sure you get the edges. And there you have that. I love that blended look. That's pretty cool. And so if you want to, like when we go to make our card, you could definitely take a dauber or an ink blender and add more to the edge and get it, because it looks like I may have to trim down a little bit here. So there's another example, and let's see, I'm going to do one more. We've got one more. I'm going to clean this off. I think we have one more panel. So I'm going to do another round one. The finished card examples I gave you, obviously you could go rogue and make whatever you want, but the two card examples that I gave you, one of them uses this background and one of them uses a circle. So I'm going to make two of each and then decide what to use. All right, for my last example, I am going to use this butterfly die. So you could use any die, cover plate dies, floral dies, really anything goes. You just get to play. I kind of want mine going across this way, so I'm going to lay it down so Stamp it on there. So you can see this is flat, it's just stained, and it's going to work just fine. So I'm going to heat it up and make the impression. All right, I've got my butterflies on there. So this one I'm just going to show you the technique using. These are the mini blending tools I was talking to you about, and I'm going to use the inks, and I'm going to go in and color these butterflies. So I am going to start, I'm going to start with a triple berry. Actually, I'm gonna start with my lightest color. That's always a wise choice if you don't want to contaminate your ink pads. I mean, you can always kind of clean them out with a rag or paper until they go back to the way they were. But I'm just going to start out with the lightest and just go in and pick a couple butterflies to make yellow, and I want to use a good amount of ink here. I'm going to switch now a little bit of green, I think, to the centers of those yellow butterflies, like so. And let's do some pink. I don't like that one. I don't know what was on that. I'm going to have to, maybe some oxide ink. I want to mix those. So you can see how I just cleaned that off. All right, go in with pink. All right, I'm going to go in with some purple and highlight some of the centers of those butterflies. All right, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to get some of it with my ink, is put the blue down, and I want a nice, good coat of blue. And I'm going to use a dauber to finish that and get in there. I'm going to use one of these smaller ones here to get in to these little areas. All right, I feel good about that. And so I'm going to get my last paper here, and I'm going to give this a nice good spray. Okay, and I'm going to stamp it down. I absolutely love that. So the key to this one is making sure you put down enough ink. So, and the nice thing is, I'm just going to show you, is there's still ink left on that. I'm going to get it wet again, and we're going to get a softer look. Just slightly softer. I could probably stamp it again if I wanted to. So this would be a cool way to make multiple cards and not waste all that ink. These are the 4 that we made, and I'm sure you have lots of fun examples as well. And so in your kit, I'm going to get some of this out of the way. Let's get our kit out. You should have the 2 card bases. You have this sheet here that you're going to need to fussy cut those flowers, and the black cardstock. And then on the front you have a picture of the 2 finished cards. We used Simon Hurley. Oh, let me see if I have it here. We used his Friendship Florals for the sentiment. So I did give you 1 sentiment. Thanks for being such a great and friend. You could cut those out or use anything you've got in your stash. But what we need to do is fussy cut these flowers, and then we can make a couple quick cards. So I am going to do that, and then I will be back. All right, I have my 2 images fussy cut, and I also cut out my greetings. I just blocked them out, ink everywhere. All right, so let's put together a couple cards. So I am going to start with this one here. And so these would be my two choices. Is that? The yellow is fun, very bright and cherry. I think I'm going to go with this one. And you don't have to trim it down, but I don't like that it's off center. So I'm going to go ahead and straighten that up a little bit. So I'm going to take one of my card bases, bone folder, go ahead and fold that up. Okay. And then I'm going to stick that down. Just center it on there. Just have it. It's trying to grab already. I'm not ready for it to do that. There we are. And then I'm going to use some foam and pop that up. Oh, you know what? Before I do this, I'm going to stamp that sentiment. Obviously, you could use whatever you want to use, but I am going to use, maybe, if I can get it open. I use a sentiment from here. I think I'm going to use this, you're literally my favorite. Very cute sentiment. Maybe I'll send it to my daughter. They love to think they're my favorite. Okay. Grab a stamp block and some black ink. I'm going to use some VersaFine Onyx Black. Perfect. So I just flip mine. This is the original card. Maybe you have a die cut that would work good there. I'm just gonna put that on the other side. And that card is finished. And then for this one, I could use, I'm gonna save, I love this, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet. I'm gonna go ahead and use this one. It's very similar to what I used there. I have ink all over my hands and I'm trying to transfer it. So I have a mono sand eraser and I'm just going to go in and get rid of that. I could put my flower on the other side and cover it as well. I am going to trim that down a little bit. I think I got it for the most part. I'm good with that. So this one is the one I use with black. So I am going to cut this panel down. So it's 4. I'm going to cut 1/8 of an inch. Well, no, it's even off each side. So I'm just trying to keep it even. So I'm going to cut it down to 4. So however you do that. And then I'm going to stick that onto the black. Get my other card panel here, or card base, sorry, and get that folded. And then I'm going to put this onto the card base. All right, and then I'm going to pop up that flower there. Down there in the corner. All right. And then for that, we have these two sentiments. Thanks for being such a great friend. So you can pop those up if you want, or just put them down. I think this time I'm just going to put them down. So let me get some tweezers, some wet glue. My fine tip came off there, so that is super thick line of glue coming out of there. All right, and the front. And you could certainly finish that off with some pearls. I use some stamps from that same stamp set. I am going to call that one good as well. So that completes this video, this card class. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed learning about the stamp foam. If you have any questions about this card kit, or you would like to purchase one, you can go to our website, www.frommomentstomilestones.com, and there you should be able to find the class kits if there are any remaining, and then our YouTube channel is there, and you'll be able to, obviously you're already there if you're watching, but we put videos up with all of our classes so you can follow along. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.